These are my must-have products while traveling, nothing more and nothing less. And let's start with charging, because I think I've perfected it. Alright, so you know when you go somewhere abroad where you need a different plug? Normally, you have to bring these clunky, low-quality bricks on top of your chargers, which is where this handy charger from Ugreen comes in with switchable plugs. So whenever I have a trip coming up, I just bring whichever plug I'll use at my destination. And this doesn't just replace the clunky adapter, but the main charger as well. It's only 65 watts, but I really only charge my devices when I'm sleeping, so 65 watts is plenty. And these 3 ports are all I need because this next item basically turns one of these into 3. And that is ESR's 3-in-1 travel charger that lets me charge my phone, my AirPods, and my Apple Watch all in one place. There are hundreds of these chargers to choose from, but I went with this one because it's from a reputable brand, it's lightweight, packs nicely, and is well priced. It also comes with a fancy case and an extra charger, which is always nice to see. And the only other form of charging I'll even consider bringing along is this really inexpensive MagSafe battery from Ugreen. It doesn't have 10,000 mAh like some of the competition, but it can still fully charge my phone if I need it. And on the upside, it's cheaper and lighter, which is a huge plus when I'm traveling. There are much bigger batteries like Anker's 737, but that's not something I need. Alright, so let's now move on to the 3 Airs: AirFly, AirCard, and AirTag. Alright, so you know when you want to watch the entertainment system on a flight, but instead of your own headphones, you have to use those janky ones they give you? And that's where this little device comes in, which is called the AirFly. And the way it works is that you can plug it where you normally would plug the airline headphones, and it's gonna act as a transmitter and allow you to connect your headphones to it to watch the in-flight entertainment. And you can use this on more than just airplanes. Basically anything that has a headphone out port will work. And if you get the Pro, which is this one here, you can also use it as a receiver, which will let you connect your phone to a car or turn an old stereo into a Bluetooth one. They have 3 models, but the cheapest one is perfectly fine if you just want to use it for flights. Then we have AirTags, and I put one of these in each of my suitcases. This not only gives me peace of mind, but as soon as I land, I can check if my luggage made it, so I know whether I have to go speak to someone or not. There's not much else to say here, they're great and they work really well, but I wish Apple had either a card version or a slightly smaller one to fit in the wallet. And until that exists, I'm going to use something like this AirCard that fits in the wallet and acts just like an AirTag. You can track it on the Find My app, have it ring, and even get reminders if you leave it behind. But there's a few things that really make it stand out from the competition. The first is that while, yes, it still comes with a non-rechargeable battery that's meant to last 2.5 years, much like the competition. But the difference is when this one dies, you can send it back, and they will give you a 50% discount to get a new one. This is great for them as they get to reuse the parts, for us as we get a discount, and for the environment as it's less wasteful. And on top of that, this also comes with an NFC tag that you can use for just about anything. The most common use case is as a digital business card, which you can set up in seconds by following the instructions on the box. Then you can share it by tapping it on someone's phone or have someone read the QR code. To be honest, I've never done it, but I still use and like this feature because if someone does find my wallet and sees this card, they might just scan the QR code and be kind enough to return it to me. And if you want to learn more about NFC tags and automations, I made a full video about it that you can find right here. I was actually gifted this by my fiance last month, and to the 5 or so women watching this video, this is indeed a great gift. Alright, so this next one is probably my favorite item in all of this list, and that is my trusty Kindle Oasis that Amazon has recently quietly discontinued. Probably because a lot of the features of the Oasis have trickled down to more affordable models like the Paperwhite, which is definitely the one I recommend right now unless you really want the largest screen of the Scribe. But regardless of which one you get, these things last forever. I've had this one for 5 years and it still looks and feels just as new as when I bought it. And I always carry with me my Chromecast, because while it's getting more and more common, not every hotel has an easy way to access streaming services or cast from your phone. And the reason I prefer the Chromecast over something like the Fire TV is because it takes up less space, so it's easier to pack. And it doesn't need a remote as it's really meant for casting, so you can control everything on your phone. And everything fits in this little pouch here, which is made by Initech and costs less than $30. It has an origami shape, so it's very compact, but expands really nicely. And I fit everything we just went over so far in here with a lot of room to spare. I always see people recommending these tech pouches that cost double and sometimes triple the amount of this one. And sure, they might be made of slightly better materials, but this one is good enough for me. And before we move on to what I bring for productivity, I want to talk about today's sponsor, Brilliant.org. Brilliant is a hands-on interactive learning platform and is the best way to learn AI, math, data science, and computer science interactively. Brilliant focuses on hands-on problem solving and lets you play with concepts, which has been proven to be 6 times more effective than simply watching lecture videos. Plus, all the content on Brilliant is crafted by an award-winning team of teachers, researchers, and professionals from MIT, Caltech, Duke, Microsoft, Google, and more. Analyzing data is something that has never been in higher demand, and Brilliant just released a ton of new content in data, all of which uses real-world datasets from sources like Starbucks and Spotify to train you to see trends, gain insights, and make better informed decisions. To try everything Brilliant has to offer free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/FromSergio and you'll get 20% off an annual premium subscription. And a big thank you to Brilliant for sponsoring today's video. Alright, so these next 3 items were some of the best things I bought in all of last year. Starting with this laptop stand from Moft. I always like having a laptop stand, but they're all so bulky that I would never even consider bringing one around. But this one adds virtually zero weight or extra bulkiness, and it's permanently attached to the laptop, so it's one less thing to remember. And when you're not using it, you don't even notice that it's there. It's why it's called the invisible laptop stand. And if you remove it, it apparently leaves no residue on the surface. I've never tried it, but people that have seem to agree. Another thing that I always pack is this tiny little accessory from Belkin that lets me use my phone as a webcam. It connects via MagSafe to the phone and then you just place it on top of your screen. This is pretty much the easiest and the cheapest way to upgrade your webcam. And even if you have the new MacBook Pros with a 1080p camera, you're still gonna see a massive difference. Another thing I always bring with me is my SSD, but not a Samsung T7 or even a T9. There's nothing wrong with those, but they're nowhere near as fast as the internal storage on the MacBook. Not to mention, if you want a lot of storage, they're a lot more expensive than a simple NVMe SSD, which is where this here comes in. This is an NVMe SSD enclosure that connects via Thunderbolt, which is 2 to 3 times faster than USB-C. This lets you take advantage not only of the higher speeds of NVMe, but the cheaper prices as well. And if you ever want more storage, you can just buy a new NVMe and swap them out, and you can then put the old one inside a PC or a NAS. Alright, so for my earbuds of choice, it has to be the AirPods Pro. Because while the sound quality and noise cancellation of headphones is great, for me it's simply not worth the extra weight and space that they take. These still have great noise cancellation, which is super important to me as I seem to have the kind of luck where if there's even just one crying baby on the plane, you can bet they'll be seated next to me. And a lot of the B-roll you see on my videos is actually shot on this phone using nothing but this little gimbal from DJI. This acts as a tripod, but most importantly as a stabilizer, which is great for me as I often struggle to keep my hands steady when I'm recording. Even though I have mirrorless cameras, I feel absolutely no need to bring them. They're heavy, they take a lot of space, and the footage that comes out of this phone is almost as good. I've had this since before COVID, so this is the older model. The new ones are probably even better. Alright, so I do all of my video editing work on my Mac Studio, but when I'm traveling, I bring my MacBook Air, which is the base model M1 Air. Yeah, the one with only 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. But this is actually the one I recommend to most people that are just doing basic computer stuff or even light photo or video editing. Anything more than that and 8 gigs is going to be a little hard to work with. It's still fine, I'm okay editing my videos on this when I'm traveling, but I would definitely have to upgrade the RAM if I was doing it more often. Still, I don't think the majority of people would benefit much from getting the Pro or the Max. In fact, it could even be worse off, as unless you know you need the extra performance, the Air is a lot lighter with a much longer battery life, not to mention cheaper. Also, if you have a more mainstream configuration, it's easier to find someone who wants to buy it, which lets you upgrade more often. I bought this for $1,000 in 2020 and I see it selling for over $600 now on eBay in 2024. On a side note, it's absolutely insane that in 2024, the base model still only comes with 8 gigs of RAM. But that's just how it is. And everything fits in this laptop case. This is definitely not the prettiest case around, but I'm someone who prefers function over form, and this here is very functional. There's only one thing that I must have in a laptop case, and that is a pocket with a zipper, because I needed to fit my AirPods, my SSD, and my Belkin continuity camera mount safely without falling. And then bonus points for having a handle as it's situationally useful. This here fits the bill and does so at a very affordable price, so it's hard not to like it. Then we have these packing cubes. Initially I thought these were kind of pointless, but they come in very handy in compartmentalizing? but they come in very handy in compartmentalizing everything in the luggage. They will not gain you any space, but they keep everything nicely packed. Plus, you know, if customs decides to open up your bag and dump it all on the table, you can at least just grab the 3 or 4 cubes instead of having to pack everything back. Alright, so that's my travel EDC, and if you want to see all of the best tech purchases that I made last year, like this portable tire inflator, you can find that in this video right here. So I'll see you there.